Let's go back now to California, where we've been watching you some of the key moments from a preliminary hearing in a case against defendant Raymond McLeod. He's a former Marine accused of brutally murdering his girlfriend and fleeing the country. We're going to pick it up now with testimony from Justin Seydell. He's a friend of McLeod's who McLeod and victim Krystal Mitchell were visiting and staying with on the night that she died. Take a listen.
When you left the house, had you seen the defendant or Krystal?
No.
Had you heard the defendant or Krystal?
No.
Did you attempt to contact them at that point?
I don't believe that I attempted to contact them before I left. It was maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, which is not early, but if you're out drinking, that can be kind of an earlier time. So I don't recall talking with them or messaging them or anything to that effect that morning.
When you left the house to go play volleyball and then go to your school project somewhere and coming home to the apartment, had you had any communication with the defendant?
No.
Or with Krystal?
No.
What happened when you arrived home?
Arrived home late, early afternoon, I would say, maybe between 12 and 1 o'clock. That's a guess on the time. There was no one out, no sound of any kind. I figured they were either still sleeping or the vehicle was there, I believe, so I didn't think that they had left. So I thought that they were probably still in the bedroom.
At that point, what did you decide to do?
Knocked on the door to the bedroom, and I didn't hear anything. I imagine I would have probably knocked several times and not getting a response. I don't remember this for sure, but I'm imagining at that point I would have maybe cracked the door and said hello or something, and still didn't hear anything.
You say you don't remember for sure. Are you saying it's difficult to remember step-by-step details about the idea of knocking and opening the door?
Yes, ma'am, exactly right.
But is it fair to say that you remember knocking and then at some point opening the door?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. What happened when you opened the door?
I opened the door and I saw Krystal in on the left side of the bed. She was mostly covered with a sheet, and she had one of her arms up in a kind of an awkward position for someone who would have been sleeping almost straight up in what seemed to be a very unnatural position for someone who was sleeping.
Let me stop you right there. When you say straight up, do you mean in the air, resting on the bed? Can you sort of give us a better description of what you're seeing as you walk in?
Yes, laying on the bed, but the arm was neither laying on the bed nor on the pillow nor resting comfortably on her body. It was up at maybe a 45-degree angle, again in an awkward position for someone who was sleeping. It became clear to me very quickly that she was deceased.
You testified earlier that you slept throughout the entire night. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You did not hear any yelling that night?
I did not.
You did not hear any screaming that night?
No.
You did not hear any kind of physical altercation that night?
No.
And I am assuming that because you have training and you served as a Marine, you're familiar with combat and you're keenly aware of what fighting looks like and what it sounds like. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, and you're also an EMT. But on that night, you told the police specifically that you didn't hear a thing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you didn't notice a thing. Is that correct?
Correct.
If you would have heard screaming, would you have gone into that room and checked?
Absolutely.
If you had heard yelling, would you have gone into that room and checked?
Objection, relevance.
I'll allow the answer. Go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Okay, that's the friend on the stand. He opted not to be on camera. That's why we didn't get to see him while he was answering those questions. Philip DeBate's still with us. At the end of the day, a jury, you know, that video of them walking into the elevator where he's got his hand on her neck, I'm not sure I see this defense as being anything other than infuriation from a jury member, especially a woman or a guy like me, a father of 2 daughters. I mean, I don't want this guy out to meet another beautiful woman. And it just, the whole rough sex thing is, please, give me a break. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it wasn't a love tap. It wasn't AI. You know, it wasn't a reality TV episode. This is a hostile dude, grabbing his girl by the throat. To me, that was a foreshadow of more to come. And I'm surprised she didn't start screaming then and try to fight her way out of that elevator. I mean, what was so hot about this guy that she decided to put up with it and go up with him to the room? I mean, it's crazy, It's not to suggest by any means that she had it coming or wanted it, but certainly that is a foreshadow. We saw shades of this, Ted, with Courtney Clenny. Remember the fighting going on in the elevator between her and the boyfriend? And he's only trying to restrain her, not hurting her, but he's the one who ends up dead. It kind of logically flows from this type of publicly displayed aggression that someone's really going to get hurt, if not lose their life. So I think this ex-Marine is in some pretty dire straits right now. I think he's going to be held to answer at a minimum and be ordered to stand trial.
Yeah, well, the preliminary hearing, not a huge hurdle for the state, given just the evidence that they have. The other relationships that he's had, he's been accused of domestic violence. Will the jury hear that?
Yes. California has a specific statute in the evidence code, unless the court excludes it because it's too prejudicial. In other words, if the effect of it would cloud the jury's objective ability to assess probative evidence, then the court can exclude it. But generally speaking, prior acts of domestic violence are an exception to the rule against character evidence in criminal trials in California if they are related to domestic relations. So no judge is going to exclude that. So he's going to have to get up there or have somebody explain away the behavior or somehow play it down.